Today we're diving into Mazda's best-selling vehicle, and that is the CX-5. We're in the 2025 CX-5 Turbo. This happens to be the Sport design, which is very close to the top-of-the-line Signature, and it's coming in around 46,000 Canadian dollars after freight and PDI. So we're gonna find out, is it still a good deal, especially when you compare it to some of its competitors, like the popular Toyota RAV4, the Honda CR-V, or the Hyundai Tucson, just to name a few. Let's break it down. Feels strong under that hood. We have a 2.5 liter DPT, which means dynamic pressure turbo. Gives you 227 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. However, you can actually get more horsepower and torque by using premium fuel. But I like how they give you the option. And that's gonna bump it up to over 250 horsepower, and you're gonna gain another 10 pound-feet of torque, so 320 pound-feet and 256 horsepower. That's matched to a 6-speed automatic transmission, so no variable transmission here, real transmission, and standard all-wheel drive on the CX-5. This is still one of the sportiest mainstream compact SUVs you can buy. So if you prioritize driving dynamics, the CX-5 Turbo is definitely the one to get. If you want to get more performance, of course, we do have drive modes. We have normal, we have our sport and off-road. Go to sport mode, it's going to hold the gears a little bit longer, a little bit better response, a quicker response with the throttle. That's going to come at the expense of fuel economy. Now, if you want to compare this to some of its competitors, like the Honda CR-V or the RAV4, we keep on talking about those because those are the two big ones in this category. There's also the Nissan Rogue, the Tucson, also the Kia Sportage. This is a very competitive market on this one here, but some of those offer not only just hybrids, but also plug-in hybrid powertrains, when this one is just straight gas only. So yeah, the fuel economy is definitely not as good as some of the other ones. We're looking at just over 9 liters per 100K for combined city and highway. You can get down to the 6s if you look into some of the hybrid versions that we just talked about there. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't get a hybrid. You just can't get it for the CX-5, but you can get it in the CX-50. Another difference between the CX-5 and the CX-50, that one does not have independent rear suspension, whereas this CX-5 does. And that is definitely going to aid in handling in some situations. So that's something to be aware of. So yeah, fuel economy wise, this is definitely not the winner in its class by any means, but it's probably gonna give you a lot more smiles than some of the others for sure. This turbo is the sport trim here. You do get a power liftgate. Now, when you open it up, you are greeted with 871 liters of area behind the second row. If you fold all of them down, you get 1,680 liters, which is not class leading. If you want to compare this to, let's say, the Honda CR-V or the Toyota RAV4, they both have over 1,100 liters, and even the Tucson from Hyundai and the Kia Sportage have over 1,000. So it's definitely not class leading, but if you don't need that little extra room, guess what? 871 liters is quite a bit, and I've actually loaded this up just to show you. So we have one carry-on trunk here. This is the 28-inch carry-on trunk by Solgaard. This is a big, big trunk. All right, 2 full-size 22-inch carry-ons, 2 backpacks, and we still have room right there, and we have the seats up still. So yeah, it is a lot of room in these compact vehicles. Here's one thing that I really like. The seats are separated 40, 20, 40, and you can actually just fold individual ones down, including the middle 20, and they are spring-loaded. So we're actually on an incline right now, and it'll still remotely fold for you. That one has a seatbelt attached to it, so we'll have to push that down, help it along, but you know what I mean. Look at that. Under the floor, you will find a temporary spare tire, which is, hey, that's getting more and more rare. And there is our subwoofer for our Bose audio system right under there. But we do get a spare. Now, the interior is where this Mazda really shines. Now, the Signature trim actually gets Nappa leather, but this Sport design still gets a leather seat with red stitching. We also get a carbon fiber-like trim on the dash. We get heated, ventilated, and power seats with memory control. When you are in here, it really gives you a feeling of something a class above than just a mainstream vehicle. On the Sport design, you get an upgraded 7-inch driver display. I really like how they've combined analog and digital together. It actually complements each other very well. In the middle, you do get a standard 10.25-inch infotainment screen, and this is pretty well one of the largest in its class. I gotta say, the graphics are extremely clear, as well as the camera. The backup camera is it's wild how clear it is. Now, if you go into the Signature, you actually get a 360 camera. On the Sport design, you just get the backup camera, but let me just put it into reverse and just show you how clear it is. Absolutely love it. The graphics are very, very nice. Now, one thing to note though, and we've said this before in other Mazda products, is if you're not using CarPlay, I like how when you're in CarPlay, it still allows you to use the touchscreen, and that makes it more intuitive, especially when you're using your mobile device projected on there. But if you're in Mazda's native menu, you can't use touch. You actually have to use the dial, and most people will get used to that, but it would be nice if they gave you the option that you could use a touch. Certain vehicles, it's a little bit far or embedded, but this one's actually easy to reach, and yeah. But the advantage of no touch is you get no fingerprints, which is kind of good. I did have a little bit of issue connecting my phone at first, and it just would not connect. I reset my phone, it just wouldn't connect to CarPlay. Eventually it did. I don't know what happened, and once it connected, it's been solid ever since. Just want to let you know that. We also get a 10-speaker Bose audio system. We mentioned that subwoofer in that spare tire area. We have a head-up display, traffic jam assist, adaptive cruise with lane centering. We have a sunroof with a sunshade here, and we also have HomeLink in the mirror for your garage door. Rear passengers actually get a lot of room here. You can tell how much room I have for my head. I'm about 5'11", so really good headroom in this compact SUV as well. Lots of room for my feet. You have 1,000 millimeters of leg room, good knee room here, so very comfy definitely for 2 passengers back here. You put a third in here, there is a small little hump. Now, want to show you this here. We actually have heated seats for the rear seats in this Sport Design CX-5. You have drink holders, and here's something a little bit unusual, is we fold this little compartment up, and this is where our USBs are holding right here. So they're not in the middle console, they're right here. So if you do have a third person sitting in the middle, you will not be able to get at those USBs. Most of the time, you don't have 3 people on the back for long periods of time, but just be aware of that. Ooh. It feels so torquey, this 2.5 dynamic pressure turbo. Great engine, I gotta say, but once again, at the cost of fuel economy, which leads me to the point. You know, this CX-5 is not the most fuel efficient vehicle in the lineup. It's not the biggest with the most capacity, but it does everything very, very well. We proved that you can fit a lot in the back there in the cargo area. It has good leg room for the rear passenger seat. It's comfortable. It feels so solid, very planted. This feel definitely a sportier drive than a lot, especially when you're matched to a 6-speed automatic transmission. It just feels way more connected. And if you want to feel like you're driving something a little bit more special, you know, not just the driving dynamics, we're talking the interior here is A1. I do have to say, and I've said it before, yeah, the infotainment is definitely not my favorite at all. But other than that, the interior is definitely a winner for sure. And yeah, I think it's obvious why this is Mazda's best-selling vehicle. It's a very, very good vehicle, and this definitely should not be discounted if you are in the market for a compact SUV at all. If it were me and I was looking for a turbo, I would, between the Sport design and the top line Signature, I would probably splash out the extra for the Signature. Sure, the Sport design has a great sporty look. I do like what they've done with the front grille and you know, the black surrounds and the black around the vehicle. They both get 19-inch wheels, and a lot of the things that you get for the Sport design, you get it with the Signature. However, the Signature does get a few very important things, which is a 360 camera, and that's important to a lot of people. You get that. You also get Nappa leather seats. You get real wood trim as well. They even throw in some parking sensors in there. And for $1,000, I think it's actually a very good buy for that. If you don't need any of those, hey, no problem. I really do wish you could add on the 360 camera onto the Sport design. However, you do have to go into the Signature to get that, which is a little unfortunate. What do you think? Which one would you get if you're in the market for a compact SUV? Any of the competitors, or maybe its sibling, the CX-50 hybrid, right? That could be an option too. So anyways, leave a comment below. Hope to see you on the next Everyday Review. Ciao.